I wanted to talk a little bit about Parashat Devarim, taken from the book Divrei Halev from Professor Halivni's Torahs. So we often think about the book of Devarim, and it's traditionally described as Mishneh Torah, which is actually the repetition of the Torah, because it actually repeats many of the mitzvot that appear earlier in the Torah, mostly the mitzvot from Sefer Vayikra. There's also another reason to think of Sefer Devarim in this way. The book actually begins with Ele hadvarim asher diber Moshe. These are the words that Moshe spoke. And from the very first verse, Devarim presents itself as coming from the mouth of Moshe, and in that way, it seems to be distinguished from the rest of the Torah. But actually, both in the Bavli and the Yerushalmi actually resist the notion that Devarim is somehow secondary in certain midrashim. The Yerushalmi, for example, describes the book of Devarim as bowing down before God. The context is that Melech Shlomo wanted to uproot the letter Yod from the Torah, but God actually declares that not even a single letter of the Torah can be annulled. In this beautiful image, God becomes, in a sense, the guarantor of the integrity of Sefer Devarim, not allowing any letters to be removed. Another midrash from the Bavli goes actually even further in elevating the status of Sefer Devarim. It actually says that all of the mitzvot were relayed to Moshe, but then it goes further to say, no, actually, the gematria of Torah is 611, and actually Moshe received 611 commandments to relate to the people, while the first two commandments of the Aseret HaDivrot were heard directly from God. This actually creates a real reversal. Moshe is the one who transmits 600 mitzvot, while only the first two dibrot come directly from God. Then actually, almost the entire Torah, in a sense, is Mishneh Torah, Torah that's repeated, mediated, and transmitted through Moshe. The only exception is actually the first two commandments. This really expands the role of human mediation in the Torah. It elevates Moshe and gives real weight to his agency, not only as somebody who passively repeats a divine message, but actually as a human figure who, through almost the entirety of the Torah, is transmitted. But this human mediation remains firmly rooted in direct divine revelation, in Anochi Hashem Elohecha and Lo Yeh Lecha Elohim Acharim Al Panai. This really makes me think of my teacher, Professor Halivni, in two ways. First, in the very form of the argument, taking a familiar concept, Devarim as Mishneh Torah, understood generally as secondary because of repetition, and completely sort of doing a paradigm shift, changing the way we think about it. No, actually, Devarim is not simply secondary. Instead, the category of Mishneh Torah expands until it encompasses almost the entire Torah. Secondly, it makes me think of Professor Halivni's profound belief in human agency and in the power of human thought, but always as something deeply rooted in Yirat Shamayim. Moshe truly transmitted the 611 commandments. His role and agency are real, but that human agency is possible only because it is grounded in the two commandments that were directly given by God, Anochi Hashem Elohecha and Lo Yeh Lecha Elohim Acharim. So on these 2 points, I really see my teacher through this Torah.